15 absolutely fantastic signature-worthy scents for men. I will go through what they smell like, the performance, and why they are so good as signature scents. These are some of the finest men's fragrances, and some of them are my fragrances for life. Let me know in the comments what you think of them, and also if you have a signature scent. Let's start with Dior Homme. This is, to me, a fantastic mix of freshness. You got a bit of woodiness as well, something sort of a resinous about it in a fantastic way, and a bit of musk. The vibe here is something extremely sort of a classy and elegant, but at the same time I do feel this is sort of a classy and elegant, but in a sort of a casual way. This is simple, but simple done in what I think is a fantastic way, and the woody and sort of a musky and sort of a resinous feel this one has in the dry down actually has a bit of uniqueness to it. This is definitely not a strong scent. I'm putting the performance just above average, but it smells absolutely fantastic, and you most likely land a compliment or two when someone gets a bit closer to you. Dior Homme is an extremely versatile men's fragrance, and also a fragrance I feel is perfect as a signature scent. Next up we have Parfums de Layton. This is basically all about a spicy sort of a fresh kick in the opening. When it starts to go into the heart of it, you get a fantastic dose of lavender. I absolutely love the lavender in Layton, and the dry down is pretty much all about Parfums de Layton's sort of a signature super sexy vanilla together with sort of a creamy sandalwood, and there's a bit of fruity sweetness as well. So basically woody and vanillic with a spicy kick in the opening, and a dry down that has a sort of a fruity touch to it and is slightly powdery. I mean, this is so good. This sometimes gets a bit of hate in my comments, but this is extremely likable. Definitely something I feel is very sexy in quite a classy way, and I absolutely 100% feel this is a great choice as a signature scent. Layton is one of my fragrances for life, by the way. Moving on to another one of my fragrances for life, and this to me is absolutely intoxicating. This is another one that sometimes gets a bit of hate in my comments. Sometimes I get someone saying like, this ain't unique at all, but I 100% disagree with that. This is a fantastic mix of woodiness, a bit of freshness, sexy sweet vanilla with an aromatic and musky touch. This is an extremely intoxicating mix of freshness, woodiness and vanilla with a bit of sweetness. An absolute compliment monster, and I do feel Chanel Allure Sport Eau Extreme is a great choice. It is a bit on the expensive side, but it's absolutely fantastic. This projects in quite a nice way for at least like an hour or two, but the scent cloud does get a lot smaller after that. So next up we have the new YSL Myslf, and one way to sort of describe Myslf L'absolu is like if you took a bit of the citrusy freshness from the OG or the Parfum, made that freshness a bit more sort of a nuanced and a bit more rich. With a dose of ginger and cardamom, you still have the orange blossom from the OG, but I do feel the orange blossom in Myslf L'absolu feels, the floral side of Myslf L'absolu feels a bit more nuanced and a bit more exciting if you compare it to the original. And this is also a bit woody, like softly woody like the OG or the Parfum. So this is basically a mix of freshness, orange blossom and woodiness. That mix in here is absolutely incredible, and I do feel orange blossom is the kind of scent that not a lot of guys are wearing. So basically, if you're using L'absolu or the Eau de Parfum, you're basically going to be walking around with something that is quite unique. This sort of performs like the Eau de Parfum, so a bit above average, and I do think YSL Myslf L'absolu is a great choice as a signature scent. Let's move on to what I think is the best Armani code. This is Armani Code Parfum, and Armani Code Parfum to me is like the almost perfect mix of powderiness, freshness and woodiness with that sort of a signature Armani Code vanilla. A fresh kick in the opening, a fantastic dose of clary sage in the mids. The powderiness here is, at least to me, not of the sort of a thick and dense kind. This is almost like a sort of a fresh and airy kind of powderiness, and you get a fantastic dose of creamy woodiness in the dry down. And that Armani Code vanilla is so good and makes the whole thing even more likable and mass appealing. Performance is a bit above average. This is definitely not a weak fragrance, even though it's definitely nowhere near beast mode. It's extremely versatile. You can use Armani Code Parfum throughout the year to pretty much any occasion, and I do feel this is an absolutely fantastic choice as a signature scent. Moving on to the one some will tell you that you can't wear nowadays. Don't listen to them, by the way. this is still absolutely fantastic. It's super versatile, and this is basically the sort of a smoother and, to me, richer and more nuanced version of the Dior Sauvage. This is Dior Sauvage, the Eau de Parfum, and this to me is basically a mix of spicy and citrusy freshness. It has a fantastic, gorgeous dose of lavender on a softly woody and musky base. It has great performance, much like the OG Eau de Toilette, but this is a lot smoother, easier on the nose, extremely likable and extremely versatile, and I think Sauvage Eau de Parfum is an absolutely fantastic choice as a signature scent. This is basically whatever you want it to be, whatever you make out of it. So if you want this to be a sexy, fun and flirty scent, then it's basically that. If you want this to be a classy and elegant scent, then spray this on and dress or act like that. Can't ever go wrong with Sauvage Eau de Parfum. So moving on to Guerlain, and a line I feel is often overlooked. It seems like a lot of guys don't know about the L'homme line, and this is the OG EDT. This to me has that signature Guerlain L'homme almond note, and that alone will make you smell very different compared to most other guys out there. This is basically a mix of freshness in the opening, and when it starts to dry down you get an aromatic touch. Then in the dry down you get that fantastic almond note together with vanilla, woodiness and sweetness, and a soft dose of leather in the dry down. This is absolutely gorgeous, fresh, nutty, a bit sweet, a bit woody, sort of a creamy woody with a very soft and mass appealing dose of leather. So unique, absolutely perfect as a signature scent. Performance is a bit above average. I do wish the performance would have been a bit better, but this does project in quite a nice way for at least like an hour or two. After that, the scent cloud does become a bit more intimate. Moving on to one of my absolute favorites from Boss the Scent line. This is Boss the Scent Elixir, and I don't know why this line is so underrated, because there are some absolute bangers in that line. The Scent Elixir opens up intensely spicy, so you get an intense spicy kick in the opening. At the heart of it you get a fantastic dose of lavender, so at that point this basically becomes a mix of spiciness together with a bit of aromatic freshness, and in the dry down you get what I think is a gorgeous dose of a sort of a creamy sandalwood. Here's the sort of a twist to it all. This line is basically built and focused around the note of the maninka fruit, and I do feel there's a hint of that maninka fruit in here. So there's like a soft fruity touch in the dry down of this. This is masculine, very, very classy and elegant with a dose of sexiness to it. I definitely feel the Scent Elixir has quite a bit of uniqueness to it. The performance is really good, and I do feel this is quite a sort of a bold, masculine, yet quite mass appealing compliment getter. That's a great choice as a signature scent. So moving on to this thing right here, and this is basically Armaf's best take on that amazing Creed Aventus DNA. This is Armaf Club de Nuit Intense Man, the limited edition, and this is basically the smoothest version of it all. So this has quite an intense but smooth dose of freshness in the opening. The dry down is where the whole thing gets balanced up by a bit of woodiness, a bit of soft musk, and a bit of fruitiness. So Creed Aventus and the Creed Aventus DNA is really good. I actually absolutely love that DNA. But like a few months ago, I got the question, so why do you prefer the different clones, and specifically this, over the original? And the answer to that is quite simple. Most of Creed's fragrances, including the fantastic Creed Aventus, is something that, at least on my skin, is not performing that well. This performs extremely well. The scent itself is not a 100% exact clone of the original, but it's close enough. Extremely versatile. This is also one of my most complimented sort of scent DNAs, and I do think this is a fantastic choice as a signature scent. If you want a different take on that DNA, if you got a sweet tooth and prefer more sort of a sweet fragrances, then Club de Nuit Precieux is the one to go for instead of the limited edition. This is basically the version where you get a big but even smoother dose of freshness. So this is citrusy fresh in the opening, but to me extremely smoothly citrusy fresh. This also amps up the sweetness, so this is a lot more sweet than the limited edition, and this is basically a mix of fruity sweetness with caramel, pineapple and pear. compare. You also get a bit of smooth woodiness and soft musk. I'm getting great performance from my bottle of Club de Nuit Precieux, and I do feel this is a great choice as a signature scent if you love sweet and fresh fragrances. Moving on to one of Prada's finest. This is an absolute banger, and to me it's definitely among the very best powdery fresh scents in the world. This is basically a mix of what I think is a nuanced dose of freshness. You get a fantastic spicy kick in the opening, quite prominent, but also quite smooth. This has a prominent dose of powderiness, but I don't find the powderiness here to be of the sort of a super dense or rich kind. This is a prominent dose of a sort of a fresh and airy kind of powderiness. In other words, this to me is a versatile powder fragrance. I will always have a bottle of Prada L'homme in my collection. I absolutely love this fragrance, and I do feel this is a great choice as a signature scent. The performance is definitely above average, even though this ain't a beast mode kind of fragrance. Moving on to another one of my fragrances for life, and this to me is a truly unique scent. This is basically sort of a simplified mix of freshness and woodiness, so sort of a slightly creamy kind of woodiness together with what I feel is quite a nuanced dose of tobacco. Now here's the sort of a twist to it. This is extremely well blended, and even though this is a sort of a tobacco focused scent, the tobacco in it is definitely not of the heavy or super warm kind, and the whole thing has quite a unique kind of airiness to it, and that airiness is something I have not experienced in any other fragrance. This is extremely well blended, an extreme compliment getter. The performance is absolutely fantastic, and this is one of few sort of tobacco fresh scents that I do feel you can wear pretty much throughout the year. Ormonde Jayne Montabaco Intensivo is what I feel a fantastic choice as a signature scent. So next up we have this thing right here, and this to me is basically something that is very much focused around a prominent dose of patchouli and vanilla. The vanilla does have a bit of a sweetness to it. This also has a soft but quite noticeable dose of rose. So this has a floral side to it, which really makes this stand out if you compare it to a lot of other modern fragrances. And the whole thing has this rich amber warmth to it. So Tuxedo is this vanillic, woody, slightly sort of a sweet and floral kind of scent that's quite sort of an amber warm. This is absolutely gorgeous, an epic head turner, an insane compliment getter, and I do feel this is for a man who wants a signature scent to stand out. It's definitely not a beast mode fragrance, but I do find the performance to be at least a little bit above average. Moving on to my absolute favorite in the Givenchy Gentleman Society line of men's fragrances, this is the Extreme. The opening is minty and aromatic fresh, and I absolutely love the combo of mint and clarification in this scent. Gentleman Society Extreme is woody and floral with a fantastic dose of vanilla. That mint and sage duo gives the whole thing a fantastic dose of sexy freshness, but the main star here is a dose of coffee. And that combination, the coffee, the floral side of it, the narcissus, the vanilla, and that sexy freshness you get from the mint and sage duo makes this an absolute banger. This is absolutely intoxicating, incredibly sexy, yet with an elegant touch. The performance could be a bit better. Performance is a bit above average. So next up we have a hyper masculine men's fragrance that is quite different compared to most other men's fragrances out there. This has a bit of Acqua di Parma, sort of a signature freshness in the opening, and then when it moves into the heart of it you get a fantastic dose of lavender, and everything is on top of a super creamy dose of sandalwood. There's just a hint of sweet vanilla in the dry down, giving this a bit of sexy sweetness. This is one of my absolute favorite sandalwood focused fragrances, and this is basically a mix of woodiness and freshness in a very versatile kind of blend, and I do feel Acqua di Parma Sandalo is absolutely perfect as a signature scent, and I do feel it's for a man who wants a hyper masculine kind of fragrance that's still very likable. Let me know how you feel about these in the comments. Please do comment on your absolute favorite signature scent. Drop a like and subscribe for more. Make sure you check out my other videos over there, and I'll see you in the next one.